Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos. I'm the founder and CEO of Product School, and today I'm here with Brian Crofts, who's the Chief Product Officer at Pendo. Hey, Brian.
Hey, good to be here.
Thanks for joining the show. One more time, you and I can go way back. So why don't you tell us a little more about how you broke into product?
It's well, first of all, I think my how I broke into is very similar to a lot of people, which is I didn't start in product management. In fact, for me, when I started my career, I started my career as it was like the lowest point of my career. Because without getting into too many details, there was some health issues in my family, and I wasn't able to take the job I wanted. So in 2004, when I graduated, tech companies were not the hot thing they are today. For me, it was it was like, if you're cool, you're in management consulting or investment banking. So that was the path, that was the goal. And so when I graduated, that's what I wanted to go do, and specifically management consulting, and I couldn't do it because these health issues, and so I had to turn it down, and I had to take a kind of quote 9-to-5 job. It happened to be with a tech company, and I say 9-to-5. I don't know if that's what we did or not, but something that required a lot less travel, something that was more manageable. So it's like a low point in my career. I was like, it's not what I wanted to do. It's not fast paced enough. But it was with a company called Intuit, which is a fantastic software company. I had no idea how great they were when I joined them. And so I was in corporate finance and strategy. And then I remember this amazing talk that somebody was doing up on the stage at some Intuit function. And they were talking about this big problem they saw in the world, specifically in our space. And they talked about the customer, the challenges, and then they went on to describe like what they're going to do about it. And they talked about the product, and they demoed it, and they talked about the opportunity. And I remember thinking like, wow, what is that job? And like, that guy's a product manager. And so I was like, I want to become a product manager. And so, because in my mind, it was like, oh, this is like consulting, but it's not, it doesn't end in PowerPoints. You actually you get to go build it. You get to go build the solution. So I really loved that. And so that's what kind of kicked off my career at Intuit as a product manager. It was my first time, and haven't looked back since. So
I'm so in awe with what you said about product management. It seems like consulting back in the day, and it's so true. Like we get a lot of consultants these days that now want to break into product because they still want to be closer to the action. And I believe there are a lot of skills that can be applicable to this new context. You probably need to be a little more hands-on, but still, like I think that thinking about strategy, analytics, and moving fast and working hard can apply perfectly.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing too is a lot of those same folks that would maybe go into management consulting or the equivalent of investment banking. They're either going into product management or they're starting their own company. Which is to me a very pure form of product management as well. So
I agree. So I like what you said about obviously the problems, and we all get excited about problems. So in your particular case, now in your career, what are some of those challenges that you are excited about trying to fix?
Like in my career or just personally?
Maybe both. I'm thinking related.
Well, I mean, I've always been, so until, so I'm at a company called Pendo right now. We're a startup that's focused on, we focus on building a product for product people. So it's very meta in my world. But before that, it was helping small businesses, accountants, consumers, and building tax products. Who knew like that could be cool, but it was very cool because the problem was really well understood and really well defined. And so being able, because again, like when you solve somebody's problem in a unique way, a different way, and maybe even delight them, right? Like for that particular problem, for that particular person, it was very meaningful. And right, to get that feedback is I mean, that's the reward of product management is you're like, well, that solution came about because we really understood your struggle. And it wasn't just from talking to you, it was talking to all these people and observing all of these people and doing all the kind of the non-sexy, work that goes into product management to kind of get to that solution that now everybody's really excited about. And now they say it changed my life, or it improved my life, or it. And so, we had a saying, it was, I don't know if it's still around, but it was kind of like, to build a product in a way that customers could never imagine going back to the old way, right? So you keep advancing a technology or experience to the point where they're like, wow, yeah, what did we do before our iPhones? Like, what did we do? I don't understand. Like, how did we go travel Europe without a phone? We had to use maps, and so it's hard to imagine the old world. And so when you get to that point, again, that's through the, whatever the domain is, right? Is through hours and hours of the study of the problem.
So you are there in Intuit, you see someone giving a talk about problems and product management, and how did you get a chance to at least participate and work as a product manager, even if they didn't give you the title? How did you get someone to say, okay, you know what, try to help me here?
Well, this is a good question because I remember, so I, again, like when you're doing the stories, it's like, it's pretty, concise and you skip a lot of steps. Well, in this particular case, the step or the part of the story I'm skipping is after I saw that and I was like, I want to be a product manager, I said, and then I went and became a product manager. Well, the first time I went to it was a director of product management there at Intuit at the time. And I was like, I want to be on your team. And he said, no. He's like, we'd rather bring in somebody that has done it, has had the experience. And you're like, but how do I get that? And, it's that classic chicken and egg problem that a lot of, I think, students and people face, but in early career, that people that want to switch over into PM, but what it came down to is I was like, well, I just need to be amazing at my job, the current job. And again, I was corporate finance strategy. And so I worked really closely with the PMs and I acted like a PM. I presented like a PM. And then I got my shot, and they were like, I remember then the new person that took over that director's role, he sought me and got me to come join. And so it took a little while, but the only reason why I got a shot at it was performance in the current role. And that's what I always tell people, if you want to switch into PM, be amazing at the current job, right? Because number one is if you're amazing and you're an amazing talent, or just incredible work ethic, consistent with the values, all that stuff, they want, companies want to retain you. And so if you have career aspirations, we've given PM jobs to people internally because they're just great talents and we give them a shot, So obviously somebody gave me a shot, so I'm going to definitely pay it forward. But yeah, the first time when I said I wanted to go be a PM, it didn't work right away. So.
Well, thank you for sharing vulnerability as well, because I think it's part of the process. I haven't met any single PM who got a yes in the first or the second job interview. But obviously, many years forward, now you're a chief product officer, which, by the way, it's not very common in a lot of companies. We're still fighting, explaining that product is not part of marketing and it's not part of technology. I'm glad to see that there's a chief product officer at the C-suite level. So how did you get there? What are some of those leadership marks that you say are important for you to continue growing your career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think similar to the first question, there's a lot of different paths, but first and foremost, when you get to a C level, and regardless of the stage of the company, it denotes some level of mastery of the craft. And so, my emphasis has always been on being really clear about what the craft of product management is, or the craft of finance, or the craft of being a good marketer and that with that clarity and that definition of that role to then go, to be in the pursuit of mastering it, the 10,000 hours, the whatever you want to call it. But like for me, one of the things that I figured out, I think, is that one of the most important things I could get good at as a PM, or a piece of the kind of the craft that was, I think, most kind of pivotal, was the ability to develop insights. Like, and it's not just data, right? And it's not just a customer visit and you have an idea. It's an insight is something that is that, like, it is that light bulb moment, or whatever anybody calls it, of like where the dots connect and you're like, oh, this is an enduring insight. I mean, I can literally build products. I can give direction from this story, from this narrative, from this insight. And I think, honestly, the art of developing really durable, great insights is a bit of a lost art, in PM, or at least it hasn't been talked about enough. And then I think the ability to take that insight and communicate to the engineering team, other leaders, the company, and getting them to be excited and say, well, we have to do this now, right? We care and we have to do this. And so I think, it always, that art of getting a customer level insight. Again, I think that's one of the biggest things, because it drives so much. It drives innovation, it drives excitement, it drives energy. It's the reason why you're in the role. And then with that insight, you can build something great. And so I think if you unpack that a little bit, it's, it's being able to work well with people. It's being able to have humility and do hard work and be empathetic, to your customers' problems. It's that ability to then refine those into insights that are durable and communicable and strong points of view, to then share with the broader organization, with the team. And if you can kind of do it, so there's communication, there's influence, there's some salesmanship, there's the integrity of the process of developing those insights. And I think all of those is what I think, anybody that's at this kind of, at the level where you're leading an entire department, whether it's a CMO or a CPO or a CFO, like, you've gotten to that level. In order to do that, you have to kind of figure those things out, like the parts of the craft that are particularly important. And I think that some of those that I mentioned, if you focus on those and get really good at those, I think that's how you do it. So
the crazy thing for me is that nobody told me this before when I was getting started. And I wish I had access to role models that would kind of show me the path. I understand there is no playbook, but at least to know that there are different options and there are certain skills that to get better at. I just had no idea where to start. I think it was kind of my inspiration to also start helping others once I figured out my own path. Because when I asked this question to other product leaders, you come from more strategy and finance background. There are other people who come from engineering. There are people who started their own businesses, and everyone is great at that level, but they all have very different stories.
Yeah, and there's also like the difference between an amazing individual contributor, and I think this is where some self-awareness comes in too. Is like, there are people that are just fantastic individual contributors, and they can build a beautiful career, an amazing career by being that individual contributor. But sometimes we think that the only way to achieve the success that we want is to manage a team and to build a team. And so I think you also have to really want that. So you have to know how to not only build and scale products, but you need to understand how to build and scale people, right? And get people on your team excited, motivated, and being able to bring the right people into the organization and to be able to then coach and develop them. So you not only have to have the skills of a product manager and designer, but you have to also have that ability to grow and develop people and to get them to kind of all row in the same direction. And if anything, you can view that as like your product, right? I mean, that's how my team knows that they're a product in process. Like they're being, we're working on it, right? We're running experiments. We're making mistakes. We're trying different things, and we're trying to optimize the things that work. And so, I very much view my team as kind of my product that I'm trying to, scale and support. So,
and I think on top of that, at your company, Pendo, you guys are pioneering a lot of things in the product management industry. Like product operations was one of those roles that weren't really that popular a few years ago. You're also talking about product-led businesses way beyond the product team. You're talking about creating career paths, not just for managers, but for individual contributors. So like, how do you, now that you are on this side of the table, you are not just learning, you're also creating, you're teaching, you're trying to level up the playing field. Like, how do you get that type of inspiration, or what are some of your peers or mentors that you try to rely on to continue growing?
Well, so the last part of the question, I think, is, at least to me, it's interesting because it's not necessarily from other product leaders. You know what I mean? It's for me, like the inspiration and kind of and mentorship comes from people that have mastered their craft in different industries. Because again, like product management is still relative to like sales and marketing and stuff is kind of in its infancy, and it's still being defined, and it's still a work in progress as well. And so I really look to, I love whether it's in cooking, right? Whether it's in building, like people that have mastered their craft is very inspiring to me. Like I subscribe to the master class, that app, and it's probably silly. Like I just watch those. I'm not watching those to learn how to like cook barbecue, but I'm obsessed with like watching these people that are masters and like how obsessed they are, and they keep like they're just so product curious, right? Like if they're a chef, or if they're a writer or a film director, like that's inspiring to me, because I'm like, well, what is that for me in product? You know what I mean? And so that it kind of goes back to like the love of the game, the love of the craft of product management. And so then we try to build a tool. Again, we run experiment. We're trying to figure it out. It's like, what are the things that help teams innovate faster? And whether that's helping them develop insights quicker, but then also being able to like take action and do something with it and not just sit on it, because there's nothing worse than, I think, developing an insight or developing empathy and then not doing anything about it. I mean, that's worse than not having empathy or not having the insight. And so again, a lot of my inspiration, not necessarily for the product, but for the pursuit of a great product and the pursuit of of the craft, comes from watching these other people that have, in a far more profound way mastered their craft than I have mine. So,
well, I think I love that. I'm also subscribed to that platform and others. Believe in lifelong learning. I think that type of curiosity just to get better at something and try to learn directly from the best, it's really powerful, because the game never ends. And for me, it's a game, and I want to get better at something. And somehow you end up connecting the dots. And maybe some of the cooking skills that you are watching on Masterclass somehow could relate to something that you do in life or at work.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, like their passion is infectious. And then you say, well, am I doing something that I'm equally excited about getting good at? And the cool thing is, I think building software products is pretty amazing. I mean, I think it's a really cool thing, because you are impacting lives, you are changing the world in your own little part of the world. And so it's inspiring. It really is. It's fueled a lot of ideas, to be honest.
So Brian, you joined Pendo in 2017.
Yeah. So yeah, 4 years ago about.
So 4 years ago, how big was your team?
Let's see. It's funny. We had one person out, like halfway out the door, and so if you don't count that person, it was 3.
So
Small.
chief product officer at that stage is very different than being a chief product officer today. So how did you evolve personally? How would you say that, like you had to learn on the go to make sure that you are not only not a bottleneck for your team, but also like you can turbocharge your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, the thing that I realized is that I'm a very hands-on guy, like, because I do love building, like, and I do love the process, and I mean, like, I'm a wannabe designer, right? Like, so I get in, I spend a lot of time in Figma for not being a designer or whatever design tool, right? And so one of the things I realized is that the people on my team are going to they are going to act within the system that I create, right? So what is incumbent upon me as the leader is to create the right, call it innovation system or system, and put that in place. So that they are free to operate and they know what they need to do. Because I think, back to your point about bottleneck, like, I think the opposite of the bottleneck is to create the system in which they know how to play, right? Or the game that they know how to play. And so being very clear on kind of the processes. So as we started to scale quickly and more, it was like, we need to be very clear about what this process is, or the kind of person we need, or what the strategy is. And so as long as that table is set, it gives and then what it does is it flips the onus onto the PM to say, or designer to say, okay, the context in which to operate, the system within to operate. It's now incumbent upon you to earn the kind of trust and respect that I give you the autonomy to act freely in that system, right? So that sounds a lot fancier than it is, but so in the early days, it was a pretty simple system. Today it's evolved, and so it's a little more complex. There's a lot more accountability, and there's a lot more process involved. But it all is in the service of the PMs to set them up for success, so that they can earn that autonomy. See, a lot of teams, you'll read a Marty Kagan article, and you're like, am I an empowered product team? Am I empowered? Do I have autonomy? And the reality is, you might not, but you might not have earned it either. And so I always tell my team is like, it's incumbent upon me to create the right system and for you to operate. And that makes it so there's no bottlenecks. You have everything you need to be successful. But then it's incumbent upon you to go make the difference and to go earn that trust. So how do you earn trust? You make and keep commitments, right? You innovate. And so it's really up to them. And so I look at the teams, my teams today, and we have many product teams and or squads or whatever you call them. And every team has a little bit different level of autonomy. It's not necessarily published, but I'm sure they feel it, And so I realized I had to create that space and that system. And if they understood it, they will participate in it, and they will perform within it. So
I'm going to push you to go even further than that. Let's say you create a system for your team, but now there's a lot of conversation around product-led businesses or product mindset, like literally taking some of those good practices in product teams to other teams that are not just product. Obviously, I know you guys published a book on that, but like, how can you contribute to install part of that culture beyond your own team?
Yeah. It is a really important subject right now. And I think it's the evolution of the importance of the role that the product plays. Now, there are a lot of companies, and I'll put Intuit, I'm biased towards them because they've built a great product culture, but at Intuit, the product was the most important thing. The word of mouth about the product was the number one thing, right? And there was no other metric in a sense that mattered. It's like, do people love it, and do they talk about it? And the reason why that was, and the reason why we've kind of pushed, and we're big advocates for product-led companies is that it really, so if you have an amazing product, Well, one, it's easier to sell. So if you have the opportunity for people to experience the value of your product before they ever talk to a salesperson, it's going to make that sales call much easier because they've already experienced the value. If you have a great product, it's a lot easier to support. You're not having customer success taking all these critical and urgent calls about some bug or some issue, or it doesn't work this way, or at risk of churning or this or that because they didn't deliver the value. It's no, I'm gonna have calls with you to take more advantage of the product. And so it helps them do their job. You think about marketing, going back to word of mouth, like if everybody loves the product and the market loves the product, it makes their job a lot easier. And so to us, and to me specifically, the idea of what product led is that it puts more pressure on the product team to deliver an amazing product, not just for the end user. I mean, it's all about the end user, but so that it makes the jobs easier of the entire company, and then they leverage that great product that you've built to perform. And so I love those kind of product-led cultures, product-led companies, and that's what we've tried to do. We're not perfect at it. We're still learning what it means for us, but we see companies that do it have a lot more success, and it's a lot more fun to support a product, sell a product, market a product that customers love. Like it's just easier on everybody. So I think gone is the day that you can have a mediocre product but a great marketing team. I just don't think that works anymore.
I agree. And then to grab this thing up, I just want to talk about tools. Obviously, Pendo is very popular in the industry as a platform, but back in the day, there wasn't that many options. I remember piggybacking on PowerPoints or Photoshop and other tools designed for other type of customers, and PMs didn't have that recognition. That this category didn't really exist. So I guess that you guys drink your own champagne, but what other tools are in your product stack?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely use our product. We call it Pendo at Pendo. We every time we do a product update to the company, we always have this section that calls "Show Me the Data," and it shows how we're using our product. We don't talk about it. Oh, we're using our product, but it's like, here are the data points that influenced this decision. Here's what we did about. So we definitely use our product. I think, obviously during the pandemic, we've used more tools like Miro, like you're just trying to recreate a whiteboard experience with teams that are all, virtual. And then, obviously we use, I mentioned Figma for our design team, but also our PMs are in there, quite a bit as well. I mean, whether it's looking at them, whether it's, commenting, we use that a lot, but we also use, and it wasn't built for us for product teams, but we're big users of Gong.io, right? So, it's for sales teams, right, to record their calls and to kind of extrapolate insights or patterns, and so we use it. We use that for our product team, and just to record all our customer calls so that we can send little snippets or quickly find a data point or a piece of feedback that was interesting. And so, and we share that out with the team. And so that's another tool. Airtable, Notion, we use a lot of some of the modern tools, but it's hard to say. We use Google stuff a lot too, so.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. But the common thing that I see here is that a lot of those tools are no code. And I think that's pushing the industry to just go straight to the insights, to build something. You don't require a very strong technical background. You can get to the data and the insights. You can build something, even if it's not super pretty, but at least it works and you can help communicate with other teams.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and again, during this time, I would say that the use of our tools is the difference. I mean, for the past 10 years, I think Aaron Levy, this is a quote from him, but it's kind of in the past 10 years, we've been building these products, and people have been buying them, and we've been building them, and And the next 10 years is really about us, adopting them. And so you're seeing, I think, the acceleration of, digital adoption and software adoption, because it's no longer a nice to have, it's a must to have. And I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I think as we recover from the pandemic, there'll still be a lot of institutional things that we used now that will be carried over. And so these tools that help collaboration, to your point, getting right to the point of collaboration, quicker to insights, tighter loops around innovation, like all of those things, I think can be super valuable.
Thank you for giving back to the community one more time. We are abusing you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I mean, I maybe going back to where we started, which is like, if you're somebody that's trying to get into product management, spending a few years trying to get into product management and learning the craft and figuring out a way to get in is worth it. Because I think it's the greatest. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's an incredible career, and it's worth the investment up front to get in. And then once you're in, you can have an amazing career and full of lots of great experiences. So
I think we were discussing this off the record, that the future looks bright in product. I believe there's never been a better time in history to build something online, because there's no other option.
There's another option, the tools that are that, like, it's just, you can solve problems quicker today, and I think, which means that we need to think about not just solving every little problem, but keep pushing ourselves to solve big problems, world impacting problems. And so as these tools get easier, it's not that we should just build a whole bunch of simple apps. We need to go build real solutions to real problems. And so I think that's to me, that's the exciting part in the evolution.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Hey, thank you. Great to catch up.